Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
As always, the Ramble is sponsored by Action Coach Sheffield. If you're a growing business and you want support to continue that growth, they are the people to speak to. Thank you for John and the team for their continued support for the Ramble. Today's Ramble is also sponsored by High Point Access. Thank you to them for their support. They are your number one stop shop for all your working at heights and roofing needs. If you mention the Blades Ramble when booking any works with them, you'll also get 10% off. What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is hot off the presser. So Wilder has just done his press conference for the Middlesbrough game coming up tomorrow night. A lot of us were a little bit nervy following the Portsmouth performance. But yet again, after listening to Chris Wilder, look, I know being a good communicator and that aspect of being a leader isn't everything. It doesn't make you the new Alex Ferguson. It doesn't make you, an absolute game changer. But he is an absolute perfect recipe for our fan base. In general, obviously, I'm generalising there. Some people won't buy it. Morning, David Webster. But I think he just gives you a little bit more faith in what the club are doing, that they're all on the same page. I thought it was really good again. And it was usual state of play. Andy Giddings from Radio Sheffield started it off, passed to Danny Hall, and we'll go through what was said now. And then I'll get your thoughts on it as well, because we are live. We are live. We're live at 9:30 on this Tuesday morning. So it starts off, kids asked him about the Pompey performance, which again is another relevant question from the local journalists, because people were concerned about, yes, we got a win, but the performance wasn't great. And Wilder said both teams were going for it in the first half. The second half, we tended to get a grip of things. Needless fouls and getting balls into the box. But we've made allowing them to get balls into our box. But we made the necessary subs and changed the game. He's reflected on it. And while he thought we would probably, be picking loads of holes in it, we're still building. We're still building a side here. It's a team that's been chucked together. He said, maybe I need to chill out a bit in terms of his reflection on the game. And he recognises that. We're trying to integrate players into a side and win. And we've done that well so far this season. So it might not be the most pretty. And that was a little bit of a theme through the presser today. It's getting the job done sometimes, isn't it? Rather than free-flowing, beautiful football, it's about getting the job done. He said, we're still learning about the players. We didn't plan to bring in this many, but needs must due to the injuries to Blaster. Vinny got an injury. Harry Suter was obviously a big one as well. But we won the game. We found the quality to win the game. He thought Des Raki, morning Andy the Blade, came on and had a decent impact. Brewster came on and did well. We won't always get it right. But then he looked over the weekend and he watched Leyton Orient against Man City. And yes, these were changed teams, but they had plenty in the locker to be able to see off lower league opposition. So Leyton Orient were 1-1 at 77 minutes against Man City. Liverpool lost at Plymouth with a team that should have beaten Plymouth, and that's no disrespect to Plymouth. It's great when these upsets happen. But what his point was, not everybody makes it right. He also talked about Rangers losing to Queen's Park as well. So there were three big games where the expected side to win faltered for whatever reason, whether it's a weakened team or whatever, but the manager has made the call to change the team, still clearly puts out a team that he thinks is going to be good enough to win, and they didn't win. So, good point. I understand where he's going with that. No game is ever a given, he says. It's a reminder to the players, I want them to be full tilt. We need to be tactically better, which I thought was very interesting and something that I was talking about on 90 After 90, that a little bit of accountability from himself as well, whether he believed it or not. I'm not saying he was wrong tactically or anything, because a lot of us wanted that team that he put out. But sometimes it's just nice to take the pressure off the players. He goes on to say a little bit about why he did that as well later on. But he said he didn't expect the full tilt press from Pompey. They changed it up on him a little bit. And if they would have done, they'd have gone longer, quicker to miss out that high press. So it's about them always learning and adapting tactically. And I suppose well done to John Mousinho for those tactics. But he loves the habit of having a winning squad. We joint top on 66 points, he said. Clearly, for anybody that's unsure of what he means by that, we have officially got 64 points. We have won 66 points. We have got the -2 deduction. So we are 2 points off the top of the league. But he loves to consider that that extra 2 points as ours because we've won them. And I understand his point there. It's been a theme throughout the season. He says, I think if you'd taken a poll of supporters before the season, even the most positive of supporters wouldn't have had us joint top at this stage. And again, I think that's fair. It was so unpredictable, wasn't it? Because of all the wholesale changes we made to the squad. It was such an unpredictable season coming into it. So, yeah, I agree with him on that as well. I look a little bit short here, don't I? Because I've moved the camera up slightly just so you can get a lot of my new faces in around the wall. Marty Greer, bigcartel.com. Blade Ramble at the checkout. Brilliant. Absolutely love his stuff. Kids asked him about a winning culture. He said, despite the poor performance, he didn't say that. He wasn't brave enough to say that to Wilder, and I don't blame him. But in terms of whatever questions there were over the performance, there's still a winning culture around the club. That's 5 wins from 6 now. So whatever criticisms people might have, we've won 5 out of the last 6. And Wilder says, in his usual style, I would rather have a mentally strong team that's grinding out wins than a weak and soft team that plays lovely football every day of the week. It's about winning, and we are a winning football club. Lots of teams would swap that. He reminded us again, we're in the early part of this build. But by the same token, that can't be our stock performance, and he understands that. He also says Pompey are fighting for their lives, by the way, and our 2 goals were outstanding to win the game. So it was that extra bit of quality that won it for us. He was asked about team news. He said everybody's fine coming out of the Portsmouth game. And then he was asked, interestingly, about Alfie Gilchrist. And he said his attitude's been great. He needed to come out of the team, which I thought was an interesting comment. And I agree with it. It'd been a tough 2 to 3 games for Alfie, and he needed a break. It was a tough decision of who to leave out now that we've got the 6 loans. But Alfie took it as Wilder expected him to take it. He was disappointed, but accepted it. He's a team player, and he's a big part of this squad going forward. We're getting back to a fully fit squad now, he said. There's only Blaster out long term. Could be Alfie or Clark at the weekend. On Wednesday, tomorrow night. Tom Davies is going to be back in contention for the game. He'll likely be involved in the squad tomorrow night. Kiefer should be back for the weekend. Femi should be ready for Leeds. And Jamie Shackleton's back in full training as well. So, as he said, there's only Ollie Arblaster now that's out as a long-term injury concern. So, it was asked about the reaction by Gids to the performance and, about the critiques around it, I suppose. And he says it's been unbelievable. Would you rather we start poor and then came with a late run and push for the playoffs instead? He said people can criticise. The previous promotion team had 2 to 3 years in it. So when we went up with Jack O'Connell and John Egan, and Mark Duffy obviously led the promotion charge but didn't play in the Prem, and we all know why that wasn't. But that team that Wilder took up in 18-19, he said it had a good 2 to 3 years in it. And then when we eventually came down after a poor second season, we were ready to go straight back up. But the change of manager to Slav brought a change of style, and the club, and it just did not work for the club. It set us back a little bit. And he said he was keen to say that's no reflection on Slav. He's a brilliant manager and a brilliant person, but it just wasn't the right fit. And he's not criticising the club for the appointment or anything. Everybody, universally, fan base, and I remember this being the case, or certainly for the majority of fans, were delighted with Slav coming in. That might seem like a distant memory now, but it's true. And then only did we start he got sacked because we were 17th, I think he said, in the league at the time. Well, we started to get our identity back under Eki. And we've now done, but if you look at it, we've now done the same as Slav. We've changed the way that we play as a management team today. It was easier for Wilder and co because they had so many players leaving. So it was a little bit like a blank canvas, I suppose. So it was a little bit easier. But Michael Carrick, he says, he's talking about Boro's build. They've not got it 100% right. And he's been there a while now. So that it's always a continuing thing. And we are only in our second window of putting this squad together. He says all the talk about parachute payments is a little bit of nonsense for him because, yes, we've got a competitive budget. We've got a top 6 budget. We've kept good players and signed good players. But we have to accept that it might not be free-flowing all the time as this team gels together. Winning football is the most important thing. He could have chosen not to strengthen and maybe expected a little bit too much too soon from such a new group, but we will get better. The players that have come in are good players. It's a roller coaster now until the end of the season. But if we can keep doing what we're doing and stick with it, we'll be there or thereabouts and we will get better. Just ask for a word on Borough from Gids' final question. One of the outstanding teams in the division, he said. Well coached and well managed. They like to control possession and create big chances. They're a good side. A really interesting game coming up tomorrow night. They've lost players too. Morgan Rogers were a big one to lose. They lost Chuba Akpom. But they keep building and evolving. So they've not got it 100% right, like he'd said. And they are not where they want to be, although they are in and around the playoffs. They will... And we heard it from Johnny in our warm-up. They're not 100% happy with the progress this season. They should... Playoffs... If they don't get playoffs, it's a failure of a season for Middlesbrough. That is the minimum expectation for them as a club. And I think that's fair. Then Daniel took over the questions. What is the secret? What is the secret to your winning habit? He said. And Wilder said it's mentality. Collectively, all of us, the players, the coaches, the staff, we all want to win. Man City found a way. And then he laughed saying, bringing on Foden and De Bruyne helps, which he does. But now we've got a strong bench that we can look to as well. It's all relative, but we've got a strong bench. The fixture list is varied, but we're consistent in our approach to games. We'd love to be all singing and all dancing, a cohesive team. But we might not always be on the same page. That's football. Good teams sometimes find themselves in mid-table. I mean, you look at, he didn't mention any names, but you look at Luton, for example. Their collective team of players isn't that different to the team that got promoted, but yet they're down near the relegation zone. It happens sometimes in football. You have bad seasons, you have bad games, you have bad spells within seasons. On the reaction that he had after the game, which is something that we spoke about on the channel, which I think he went in and sort of shifted the blame to the players a little bit. And that was when I said, he doesn't necessarily need to believe he was wrong, but sometimes I think he could take responsibility a little bit more just to take the pressure off the players. But that's a choice, isn't it? That's a different way of managing. And he talks about it here. He says, if I don't set the standard, we won't get better. He might chuck a hand grenade in every now and again, but that's how I choose to manage. Other times he'll maybe need to put an arm around him. So who am I to criticise his way of doing it? It's a conscious thing that he's done. We're joint top after 31 games with 66 points. He said again, we've actually got 64, but we've won 66 points. It's not an arrogant group. He heard the sort of murmurings about, is there an arrogance about Sheffield United turning up and expecting to turn Portsmouth over? They weren't arrogant second half, were they? They did feel like the second half, he felt we'd go and win the game. The 2 sixers didn't always click. Hamza and Sousa, which were interesting for him to say. We didn't always track the runners at corners and other things like that. There were he said the defensive three need to work a little bit collectively better together, get tighter. We won't always get it right, but more often than not, we have got it right so far. Then another interesting bit of news was he was asked about the Brewster contract. So he wants him to stay. He would love him to stay. He says we're in discussions with him now and his representatives. He's a big fan of Brewster, part of a strong front group. We've got really good options now. Maybe the combination between the front two wasn't great at the weekend. So Cannon and Campbell, but the service was poor as well. So he doesn't understand how people can automatically have a pop at Cannon and Campbell for their performance when all we're playing backwards and square, which is music to my ears personally, because we know when we questioned it on Hot Topic last night, one of our Patreon exclusive shows, Roy was on saying, have they been instructed to go back? Or is it a confidence thing? Or, you know, because Harry Clark might make a little bit of progress down the right and then he'll stop and he'll play it backwards. When really you just want him to bomb on, or at least take his man on, or try and get round him somehow by going inside. But Wilder said the same. We're playing backwards and square. We don't want to play like that. We don't want to play in our defensive third. And he says it's not because the fans want that, because you'd have 30,000 different opinions. He says it's the way I want to play. I want to be on the front foot. I want to be a front foot side. Brewster's a great option for us. Hopefully, we can get it done in terms of his contract. We've not seen the best of Ian, which I thought were a nice line. There is pressure on him, and he understands that. He did come with a big fee. He said it's nothing like what's been reported, but it was a big fee. He's a popular and positive member of the group, which doesn't earn you a contract, by the way. He didn't say this, I'm saying this. It doesn't earn you a contract, by the way. He's sort of just saying other things that it will reflect really, like the group will be really positive because he's staying. And I do think that there is merit to that. You've got to be able to offer something on the pitch. You've got to. And Wilder clearly thinks he can. He's a London boy as well, so it's been difficult sometimes to settle, because he's a London boy that went to Liverpool, and from there he's been to Sheffield United. But Danny was saying he sort of seems like he's found a bit of a home here. And he says, Wilder says, yeah, we're believers. We're big fans of Ian Brewster. And the final question of the press conference was just a little line about Sai Sachdev's contract. So he's Sai Sachdev, for those that aren't aware, is one of our youth team players. He's a right back, and him and Femi Sariki have been really close coming through the ranks, in terms of at some points Sariki's been in front, at other points Sai Sachdev's been in front. Right back is going to be so oversaturated. But Sai, unfortunately, when he was just about getting involved with the first team, and he played some pre-season games and things like that for us, he got a really bad injury, a really bad leg injury, and he's still in a cast now. But the club have extended his deal by a further year, which was an option that the club had, and I think it's a classy move by the club, and allowing him that time to recover. He says he's still a long way off, but it's the right thing to do, and we've got big hopes for Sai going forward, as have I, to be honest. I think he's a really good player, really like Sai Sachdev. So what are your thoughts on that press conference? Because I thought it was another really strong outing from Chris Wilder, as we'd have expected. I'm going to jump into your comments now to see what you guys think. So Danny says, morning, Jimmy. Need O'Hare in the middle to knit things together. Missed him last game more than we missed Hamer while he was banned. I think we'll stick with Jackie Longthroat, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Just to let everybody know, see if I've got my team here that I would play just while Danny's talking about it. So this is the team I've gone with. So I'll get his comment off screen just so people can see. So I've gone with Cooper in goal. I want Alfie Gilchrist to come back at right back, because I think we'll be tested defensively this game. Harrison Burrows is my left back as well, and a central defensive pairing that will probably surprise no one, of Rob Holding and Anel Ahmedhodzic. I've gone with the best two players rather than the form players, and I understand that'll be questionable to some. Like Danny himself has said there that he would prefer to keep Jack Robinson in, and I understand it. I've gone with Vinny Souza in the 6 as opposed to Hamza Chowdhury, but 60, 70 minutes get Hamza Chowdhury on, and you lose very, very little from the impact that Vinny Souza can have. Sidi Peck's earned his way into the side as well. I think you've then got the option, if Sidi starts to tire, because he is that all-action midfield player, you can move Gusema from the left-hand side into the 8 and put Ben Brereton Diaz on the left-hand side. What an option from the bench Ben Brereton Diaz is, by the way. We've also got, I've got Tom Cannon up front with O'Hare behind him and Raksaki to the right. But you can also bring Tyrese Campbell on to replace Tom Cannon. I'm sure Ian Brewster, after this press conference, will get a look in as well. So you let me know. You let me know what you think in terms of that team selection. I know not everybody will be a huge fan of it, but that's just my team. It's a game of opinions, isn't it? So he says, Anelli's good, but he's only looked solid when playing with Suter for me. Maybe he's not as good as we think. Thoughts? I think Anel is. I think Anel lacks confidence in Jack Robinson, and as we said last night on Hot Topic, that is an Anel problem as much as it is a Jack Robinson problem. It's not. Jack Robinson can't do anything about how Anel feels about him, can he? It is affecting Anel's game, and it's something that Anel has to work on. But I think Anel is a better player than Jack Robinson, so I would have him next to Rob Holding. And I understand the fitness concerns and the form as well, because let's be right, Jack Robinson played better than Anel at the weekend. There's no getting away from it. I'm not trying to spin it any which way. I'm just giving my honest opinions on the way I would prefer us to go. Because as soon as you get Rob Holding up to speed, you've got a really good centre-back pair in there. It's not quite Suter and Anel, but it's getting closer. Happy Chappy says, sorry, Danny, but Anel is good. It's Robinson who's the problem. I've been nervous as hell playing next to him. And that's what's happening, isn't it? I think Jack says we can't keep blaming Robbo for Anel. Blaming Robbo for Anel. Poor performance as well. It's his responsibility. I agree with that. David says, morning, Jimmy. Love the Daily Ramble. Thank you, pal. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate it. Hope you're good. And thank you for the donation last night. I really appreciated it. Jimmy says, Anel and Robbo is quite a puzzle, which should have been solved by now. It's not just about losing Suter. We had this last season when Egan was out. Yes, we did. That's true. We haven't made it work, have we? They were terrible together in the Premier League. Absolutely terrible. Not solely responsible, but largely responsible for the most goals conceded in the Premier League. Embarrassing. Rob says, morning, Jimmy. Can we now forget these experiments, including 4-4-2 and Brereton Diaz on the right? I don't get Brereton Diaz on the right, Rob. Don't get it. A lot of people were crying out for 4-4-2. So I can't criticise him for going for it. Because when the teams came out, and I said this last night, but when the teams came out, everybody that I was around, and there was a fair few of us in Triple Point, we were all very happy. And it's even documented on Lee's Ramble on the Road. Not watched the oh, sorry, I didn't read the rest of your comments. CW needs to pick the best team in the 4-2-3-1 and not trying to shoehorn players to accommodate them. Yeah, I'd be interested to hear your team, Rob, because I think we have got a lot of options now. So what is the best team? I think that's a fair question in itself. It's not an easy decision now. I know what you're saying, pick the best team, but who is that? Because I can guarantee whoever you put in your team, somebody else will have a slightly different one by at least one, maybe two, maybe even three players. Not watch the presser. Apparently, it's quite deflating from a fellow Blade, says Maury. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. We're all right. I felt it were good as well. I always do, though, to be fair, don't I? So I think Wilder can turn me around like that. Steve Holmes, good morning, pal. Good morning, Jimmy. Hope you're well. It sounds like Brewster's getting a new contract. Thoughts? I trust the manager, first and foremost, and his judgment. I don't believe Brewster has the quality to push us on, particularly if we're going to be a Premier League side. Earlier in the season, when we didn't have the options that we had, when we were still under Prince Abdullah and it didn't look like we were going to strengthen in the attack at that stage, I was of the opinion that we give Brewster another contract. And then even if we go up, if he's got 2 to 3 years, he can maybe have a year in the Championship with someone and play consistent games to regain a bit of his value, because I don't think he'll impact us at all in the Premier League. And we can buy a better striker to go into the pecking order that's the first team. But maybe he has an impact. Look, this is the first time, Steve, isn't it, that he seems to be staying at a reasonable level of fitness. And it's for him, like Wilder was saying, it's for him now to show us what he hasn't shown us yet. There's a lot of pressure on him. Just United says, as soon as the balance is found, we can turn any team over in the division. Hopefully it's happening sooner before it's too late and we face the playoffs. Look at that logo, by the way, for Ricky's new channel. Love that, pal. Danny says, looks like we've got Rian for another few seasons. On this form, he's a decent sub option, I suppose. It's not done, is it yet, Danny, to be fair? He's on a good wage. And I would imagine, and it's not, this is just from little bits and pieces that I gather, I would imagine that he will not be offered the same terms. But he's not going to get the same terms he's on now anywhere else either. So he may well stay, but it'll be on reduced terms. And I think that's probably right. Aiden's happy with the Brewster news. That's good. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, up the full-time Ramble, says Ricky. Thank you, pal. Wilder said Rian didn't cost anywhere near 23 million. Do you think that's right, or simply trying to take some pressure off him with the price tag? It was, I think, from memory, Aaron, and we're talking nearly 5 years ago, aren't we? But it was 18 million guaranteed in installments, and then there was incentives to get up to 23. So there were things like if we stay in the Premier League, which we didn't, appearance based it will be as well. So there may well be, it may be over 18 now. There'll be goals in there probably. There might be an international appearance, because when we signed him, it was, you know, widely touted as one of the next big things. So Bill says, would you take 5 points from the next 3 games, Jimmy? No, I think we need 7. I think we need 7. So we can afford to draw 1, but I think we need 7. I'm dreading that Monday night game, I have to be honest. So the next 3 games, for those that can't quickly work it out, we have got BORO tomorrow night. We are then away at Luton, and I don't care how badly they're doing in the league, that is an awful place to go and play football. So we're away at Luton on Saturday, and then the following Monday, so 9 days after that, we have the Monday night game where we play Leeds United at home. Huge game. I think we need 7 points, because I can't, particularly the Leeds game. Well, I suppose it depends whether you're happy with automatic or you want to go for the title, because, you know, I want to beat Leeds. I know everybody wants to beat Leeds, but I think we can beat Leeds if we click. It's going to be, these next 3 games could define our season, couldn't they? If we turn up and we get, say, 7 points, I think it's great. Imagine getting 9 points from these next 3. That would be the statement of the season so far. If we come out with 3 points or 4 or 5 points, will we lose ground? And even if we do, even if we come out with 5 points, Bill, it's not the end of the world, because that is our 3 most difficult fixtures out of the way, other than Burnley away now. And then they're done, aren't they? So 5 points isn't a terrible take, but I want 7. I'm a bit greedy at the moment. Maury says, also need these 2 wins next, or at least a win and a draw before the Leeds match, to go into that game with momentum. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. I agree, Maury. Dodgy Motson. Don't bow to him, Jord. Says, morning all. Great presser from the Messiah. Just brings you right back down to earth. Expect a reaction tomorrow and looking forward to it. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. What's happening, Blades? Says Avril. What is happening, Avril? Hope you're well. Ian says, enough said. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Ian will be very happy. Ian, who is the president, secretary, and treasurer of the Brewster fan club. Yeah, fair play, pal. Con Clasher gives us a smile, a creepy smile, I think. Thank you, pal. Just United says, I feel he's going to try 2 again up front. Maybe. He didn't say, he didn't give anything away, did he? He didn't write it off. He said it didn't quite work, but they didn't get any service, so he gave them a huge out. Interesting. Paul Rose of Well-Stoned Landscapes. Thank you for your support, pal. Joys of being the boss and being able to watch a morning ramble. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. You can, you're your own boss, aren't you? And watching somebody that's unemployed on the internet. A win is a win. A win is a win, says Avril. That's right. Jack says, I think the performance has been downplayed a lot in his presser. These performances are happening more times than not. Norwich was the last time we played well. It's how we play against Middlesbrough now, Jack, isn't it? They are banked. They are done. We can't do anything about it. Other than him coming out and saying completely unacceptable, we need to get better, blah, blah. He's chosen to say, yeah, it wasn't great, but we won. And I think that's okay, because we're trying to build momentum here, aren't we? So I'm good with that. Ray says, we must be doing something right. We're second. The table doesn't lie. We're there on merit. Well said, Ray. We're joint top according to Wilder, even though Dave the Nose rightly says there's no such thing as joint top. You're either top or you're not. Walter says, morning, Jimbo. Yes, we'll give Brewster a new contract. I believe he's turned the corner now and he's playing the best he's played since he signed. There's a few people starting to think that way, Walter. There's others that will have me dad's McBurney syndrome, which is, I don't like him as a player now. Nothing personal at all, but I don't like him as a player now, and I can't see any good that he does. So there will be players like that. I've got that with Jack Robinson to a degree. So I understand that happens. People get indoctrinated with a certain way of thinking. So if it was a clean slate and people were seeing Ryan Brewster for the first time, say on Saturday, they'd think you were a good player, wouldn't they? So let's hope you're right. And if he does get a new contract, then it's onwards and upwards. We can only hope that's the case. Tom says, morning, Jim, lad. Good morning, Tom. I believe a Leeds fan. I try and remember everybody's circumstances, but it's not easy because we do get a lot of people in now, which is great. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe, says Raymondo. Thank you, pal. Where have you heard his interview? I looked all over for it. The press conferences are always on the SUFC website. You have to log in. So you put your details in, but it's free. It's not a paid subscription or anything. It's part of your online membership, if you like, but it's free. You can access it through the website. I think you can access it through the club's app as well. Billy, rather have 6 points and lose at Luton, says Jimmy. We must win one of the next two and not lose to Leeds. I think that's, yeah, I'd agree with that. Borough game tomorrow is massive for you lot. Do you think Wilder will change it up? I do, Tom. And when you say change it up, I think he'll go back to type. I think he'll go back to having a 10 in the team. So you might not be aware, but the last game we played 2 up top. I think he'll go back to the 4-2-3-1 rather than the 4-4-2. So, which is something we're a bit more comfortable with. I think Hamza will likely come out of the team, even though I think he's a very good player. He's an unbelievable option off the bench as a replacement for Vinny Souza. But I think we'll have more balance in the middle. I don't know whether he'll go with Peck or Hamer because I know he likes Brereton Diaz. I think it's a big ask for Brereton Diaz to come into the side straight after in close proximity. Matilda Shakes, the little teasers. Anything to tell us, Matilda Shakes? Anything to tell us? The band that had departed but has never changed the name on social media and now gave us a little wave last night. Shout out to Matilda Shakes, who provide all, well, I say all the music, but the intro music for the Ramble, the brilliant Fever Dream and all your favourites are Matilda Shakes. So thank you for their support. Support local bands if they're going to be an active local band, that is. Huh? Anyway, we're a new team. Give it a few weeks and things start clicking. We'll start beating sides easy. We've played poor the last 4 games, in my opinion. But other than that, the whole game, we've still picked up points. Yes, we have. And that's all you can ask. When you're playing poorly, it's never nice to see. And it makes us nervous as a fan base. But we've picked up the results, haven't we? Andrew says, which lone player sits this one out? Jimmy, I'm going Gilchrist again. I think it's so unfortunate. And it may appear a bit trigger happy, but you've seen my team. I think it might be Clark. I might be wrong, and he might persist with him, but I think it's a very risky strategy to go with such an attack-minded fullback when they have got great options going the other way. And we saw how, what's his name? The Portsmouth winger. We're on about him last night. The Pompey winger, Murphy, had Clark on toast a few times, didn't he? Happy Chappy says, sorry, but that is such BS. We pretty much had our full 11 out, barring Holding. He got outclassed tactically and has been outclassed multiple times this season. I know you're not a Wilder fan, are you? Particularly Happy Chappy, which is a very ironic name because you're not. But we are second in the league. And I think he sort of, I think being outclassed tactically is too strong, personally, just my opinion. But he did say he wasn't expecting that from Portsmouth. So there was a bit of vulnerability in what he was saying and that he needs to keep learning. We won the game at the end of the day, didn't we? So we can't be too disgruntled with it. I can't wait for the team news tomorrow evening, says Josh. I bet there's a couple of surprises. I won't be surprised if there were. But there will be changes, won't there? There will be. I'll be more surprised if there's no changes. The set looks fantastic, Jimmy. Love it. Thank you, Ray. Marty Greer, as I say, absolutely brilliant. I love what he does. I'm delighted that we're able to work with him and support another local business. So there's links in the description below. Make sure you use the code BLADESRAMBLE at checkout so he knows where you've come from and it can continue our working relationship. It's been really, really good for both of us. Walt says, being a team that could finish Saturday, we would have got hammered. Yeah, if we'd have been against the team that could finish. Yeah, we would. If we play like that against Middlesbrough, we get stuffed, don't we? If we play like that against Leeds, it's embarrassing. But we won't. I said this to my dad at the game, and he was like, yeah, but you know what we're like as a club. And he's always been of this belief, and I've mentioned it before, and I agree. We tend to play to the level of the opposition. So we will play better tomorrow night against Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough won't outclass us. Doesn't mean we'll beat them, but we will play up to that level because we're up for a Middlesbrough game, and it's a mentality thing, I think. I'd like to see Emma in that number 8, says Matilda Shakes. I'm sure he played that for Cov with O'Hare in the 10. That's exactly right. That's how they played. We've got so much depth now. Imagine bringing on Hamza, Peck, and Brewster on in midfield. Don't know about Brewster in midfield, but we have got a really strong bench now. Jack says we've changed the formation, but not the style of play. We play at the back. We just pass it back and forth. We're playing players out of position. Matt says, would a 4-2-2-2 type formation not work? O'Hare and Hamer as the 2 10s, and any of the 2, Campbell or Cannon and Brereton Diaz as the front 2, if he's so insistent on going 2 up top. It could be employed, but you're very narrow then, aren't you, with the 2 10s? I understand that they would likely drift a little bit out wide to the sides, O'Hare and Hamer, but be tucked in a little bit more as the 10s. You could do that, but I think you lose width. Not so much. Maybe you play Hamza and Vinny in that situation because they can then drop in a little bit as the fullback look to bomb on. But it didn't seem to work, did it, against Portsmouth? Whether he persists with it to try and make it work, I'm not sure. Jack says, I'm so happy with where we are in the table and the points, but these bad performances and picking up wins aren't sustainable. No, that's right, Jack. Something's got to change, hasn't it? Either the performances change and we start convincingly winning, or the performances don't change and we don't pick up the wins. So you're right, but I think it will change for the better. We have to win the next 2 games, says Walt. It comes from the stands, says Avril. With Sheffield United, we never shut up. Bean says, not too confident for tomorrow, to be honest. Interesting. I think we got away with it. We've been getting away with it massively. I think we win games because we've got better players than everyone else, not down to the tactics, etc. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's in line with a lot of the criticism we've been hearing, isn't it? So it's up to Wilder as well to... But you say that, Bean, and I understand it, but he made the changes that won us the game at the weekend. And not only that, the team that he started with, I'll go back to the same point again, is a team that a lot of us were very happy with. I'm not saying you were, because I don't know your opinion on it, but a lot of us, well, it was unanimous between about 20 of us in the pub. I want Brewster to stay, says Walt. A year with an option will be a good deal for Rian, says Aidan. Lovely lad who was in Kettle Black a couple of weeks ago. That Rian. Andrew says, my take for the rest of the season is whatever it takes to win games, performances come secondary for the remaining 15 games. Performance comes secondary for the remaining. Yeah, I agree. Whatever it takes. Roller coaster blades, up the ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Jack says, we don't want to play in the defensive third, but it's all we've done. So is there a disconnect between the players? Tactically, we look outmatched most of the time, and it's quality that pushes us. Told me he was settled in Sheffield, looking to invest in a property in Totley. Says he loves walking around Ladybower and Stanage Edge. Oh, nice. Oh, that's good. Good that you've had a chance to have a chat with him as well. What's your thoughts on the atmosphere at the Lane this season? I honestly think it's been poor to awful. Hopefully playing against the better teams livens it up a bit. I agree. I don't, and I've been a bit of a critic, and I don't mean, it's not a dig at anybody directly, because I'm part of the crowd at Bramall Lane. And collectively, we're not as loud as we could be. And I don't know why it is. I think there's a lot of nerves, and I don't think the performances help. But I also don't think that it's down to the players to make us sing or back the team. So we have got a part to play. And I think the atmosphere needs to go up some levels. And I think with it being a night game, it may well pick up a little bit on tomorrow night. So we'll see, hopefully. But you're right, Bean. I don't think it's been great. David says, good evening from Australia. Good content, Jimmy, and keeping it honest. Thank you, pal. Up the blades, up the ramble from sunny Oz. It's not sunny here. It's blooming freezing, mate. Just United says, imagine not even 10 a.m. and got more than 150 viewers. There's only one Jimmy Ramble. Hey, we've got 540 here, pal. Thank you to everybody. One Jimmy Ramble. Thanks, Ricky. That's really embarrassing. Can't argue with that team, Jimmy. Thank you, Avril. Much appreciated. Aidan says, I don't get why people will want our biggest goal threat pushed further back. Gus has to be in the 10 or on the left if we're wanting to go up. I see that point, but but I think he does a job. If you put him at right back, he'd probably do a decent job and set someone up and score. But I understand your point. If he's that's fair. David says, grief. Sorry to hear that Sai Sachdev is still in the cast 6 months after that disgraceful tackle in the under-21s game. Yeah, we're horrific, weren't it? We're against Wolves. I've got a feeling we're against Wolves. Love this, Jimmy. So positive from the gaffer, says David. It was. Terence says, I think Brewster staying is best for him and the club. He needs an injury-free run to build confidence and show what he can do. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, Terence. I think he's getting that into now, hopefully. We can only keep his fingers crossed on the injury-free run. But it's been the most consistent period I can remember of him being available. I think Wilder needs to take some responsibility a bit more, says Jack. He's the one playing the players out of position and getting the results. I think you can criticise him for the performance of the team. Then you've got to acknowledge that it's new players as well, Jack. And then you've got to ultimately look at the bigger picture, and we're winning. So how much can we complain about it? I understand what you're saying. It's not nice to watch. It's a nervy thing to watch. I thought we were second best everywhere on Saturday, which isn't good enough. And he said that can't be our stock performance. But he also has to reflect on, the situation of the club overall. Way how you explained it sounds quite motivating from Chris Wilder. I think it was more. That's how I take it. It's how people choose to perceive it, I suppose. Paul says Brewster isn't and never will be a Premier League player. Can't see what Wilder sees in him because most United fans don't. I don't think he's a Premier League player either, Paul. I don't. And I'd love to be proved wrong. I know you probably would be as well. But he's still got a lot of proving to do with a large part of the fan base. I love his enthusiasm. I love the atmosphere and the buy-in that he's got to the club. Love all that. But that don't earn you a contract, does it? That don't win you games. Having said all that, he came on at the weekend and he assisted the winner. So he has had a positive impact. It's not the first time this season he's contributed. So the jury's still out. Lee said, statement beating Borough, Luton and Leeds. Statement? It'd be unbelievable, Lee. Unbelievable. I don't know whether you're referring to that, but me saying that, but yeah, it would. Tom says you could points if you play like you did on Saturday. We very well could, pal. We very well could. That definite possibility. New merch incoming. A win is a win. All around. Love that. A win is a win, says David. Sorry, but Robbo is just the kind of player we need for the last remaining games, says Andrew. Body on the line type, doesn't go missing. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. And that's fair, mate. That's your opinion. I can see the argument for Jack Robinson. Definitely can. You just look at the tackle in injury time against Portsmouth. Got a bigger cheer than the first goal. So I can see the argument for keeping him in. I would be more comfortable with a higher caliber of player coming in rather than the form/attitude. Just because Robbo gives absolutely everything doesn't mean Rob Holding won't. So you're comparing him to a bit of an unknown quantity in terms of attitude there, aren't you? United's slogan this season, that was pretty, but we won. Wasn't pretty, but we won. You've got to love it. I can be very negative, says Jack, but that's because I'm very competitive. But I do think it's going to get a lot better. That's good, pal. Jason says, we tend to up our game against the better teams, so hopefully we'll play a lot better against Borough or the Blades, or the full-time Ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. Any thoughts on the new lad signed from Wolves for the academy, says Josh. Don't know much about him. Lennon Patterson, isn't it? Don't know much about him, to be honest. He's a full-back, I believe. I'll do a bit of digging and see if I can come up with anything, Josh, but I don't know a lot about him. I know he's being monitored by a lot of clubs before he signed for United, so hopefully another one through the door that's a bit of a coup. Martin says, hi, Jimmy. Burnley fan in peace. Hello, pal. You're more than welcome. Just wondering what your thoughts are on Eustace leaving Blackburn. I think it's really good. And I'll tell you why it's really good, because I rate him as a manager and we don't have to play Derby again because he could have a real positive impact there. And we do have to play Blackburn again. So I think it's good for Sheffield United, which is my primary concern. I think he's a good manager. And I think there's obviously personal reasons as to why he's going. He's mentioned that he wants to be back closer to his family in the Midlands. So it's an understandable move. I know that Blackburn are performing well in the league. Derby, not so much. I have every confidence he keeps them in the Championship. But Chris Wilder made a similar move, didn't he, with Oxford and Northampton, swapped to the top of the league for the bottom of the league because he saw a better long-term future elsewhere. So it doesn't overly surprise me, to be honest. And what do you think as a Burnley fan, him leaving your rivals? I bet you're pleased and all, aren't you, to be honest? Can I just point out, says Jack, where we sit in the league has nothing to do with tactics. and we've said throughout every game, it was one moment of quality. I disagree completely. How can you not credit the manager and the way he sets the team up when you're sitting second in the league? It doesn't correlate for me. I know what you're saying, and it's not been every game that we've said one moment of quality either. We have. I could go down a rabbit hole with that, Jack. I won't, but I disagree with that point. But again, you're entitled to that. Sean says, let's not have a toxic atmosphere tomorrow night. Raise the roof and get behind the lads up the full-time ramp. Well said, Shawnee. Well said, pal. And Avril agrees. Well said, Sean. Jack says, this season, out of all the top teams we've faced, we've stepped up during these. Have we stepped up during these games apart from Sunderland? I don't think so, in my opinion. I think that's a fair concern as well. I think against Borough away, we were awful. Leeds, we set up to fail. And again, I'll keep going back to that because I think that was the case. Burnley, we did not perform when Burnley came to Bramall Lane. It's a real test for us tomorrow night. Andrew says, just wondering if Broughton Diaz is struggling personally at the moment. Just had a baby, young family moving up to Sheffield. Just doesn't look quite right at the minute up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. I agree. He was well out of sorts against Portsmouth. I know we're getting some stick because he's technically on loan from Southampton. He was well out of sorts at the weekend. I don't think playing on the right helps, Andrew. I don't think he's a right-sided player. I think the beauty of him coming in off the left is that he likes to come inside and he can shoot across the goalkeeper. He's not a right-sided forward for me. So we'll see. I don't think he'll be involved from the start tomorrow night, personally. Nigel says, Nigel Blades, remember Leeds drew with Portsmouth at Ellen Road 3-3. Peck has to start up the Blades. Yeah, there are results like that, aren't there, I suppose? Anybody can drop points to anyone. That's what Wilder was saying, isn't it? Mindful Horses says, I think we have to try 5 at the back again. But which game will we try it? Up the Blades, up the Blades Ramble. I'm not sure about that. I think, well, we've got the option to do it now, haven't we? I don't think we will, but we've got the option to do it either mid-game or starting that way to surprise a team or two. But you could have the 3 centre-backs, couldn't you? Robinson on the left, Anel on the right, Holding in the middle, and Clark and Burrows, particularly, or Sariki and Burrows, are made to be wing-backs, aren't they? So it could work. It could work. You're losing a winger there, though, aren't you? Matt says, after Jimmy, Borough, afternoon, Jimmy? Morning, Jimmy. Hello, Matt. How are you doing, pal? Borough fan in peace here. Huge game tonight. Big game for us in the playoff race. Getting dragged into a playoff pack. We should be nowhere near. Yeah, you've not enjoyed the most consistent of seasons, have you? From what I'm understanding, and I've talked at Borough Breakdown, lads, as well. And sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to leave you out there. But been playing well to a degree, but not getting the results. And it's just been individual errors that have let you down. Those metrics are always okay, though, aren't they? Because if you can cut out those individual mistakes, results will turn. And I do think you've made some good signings in the window. Just hope it doesn't start tomorrow night. Morning, Jim says, Tom, not very well today. Sorry, pal. Sony just got up and missed the presser. Just need to be better than the weekend, or else it could be a bad night tomorrow. Hope you're well, bud, up the Ramble. I am, mate. Thank you. Hope you start to feel better soon. Aquifer says, end of the day, 3 points and player useless. Better than play amazing. 20 shots, 75 possession and a draw. Points mean prizes. Laugh out loud. That's very true. Andrew says United have snapped up another promising young defender to the club's academy with a fullback. Lennon Patterson, signing after 8 years at Wolves, was on trial at Arsenal. That looks like you've clipped it from somewhere, but yes, very informative. Thank you, Andrew. Up the Blades, up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Martin says, hi, Jimmy, Burnley fan in peace. Great show. Just wondering your thoughts on John Eustace. I've just given you those, I think, from your comment, Martin. Hopefully you caught those. The lane is only loud when Robbo comes and smashes into someone. That got a huge cheer, didn't it? I do love it as well. As much as, you know, I'm not a huge cheerleader of his. I was then. Everybody loves a smash. Morning, Jimmy. 3 vital games, says Phil. The difference between promotion or playoffs. I agree. That's how big this week is, isn't it? That is how big this run of 3 games are. This is going to be the difference, I think. End of the day, quality season so far, says Jack. 66 points, joint top, quality rebuild, new owners, invested in our infrastructure. What a bounce back season. There you go. There's your perspective, Jack. And you have to keep that in the back of your mind when you're getting a little bit nervy or edgy about how we're playing. Has Connor got a clone on his channels, or is he just bipolar? What do you mean? What do you mean? Big test against Borough if Brewster starts to perform. Only good for us as a team, says David. Absolutely right. Good time playing Middlesbrough, as they lost a lot of players, but they're probably saying the same about us based on recent performances. You got a score prediction, Jimmy? 2-1 for me. I gave a prediction in the warm-up, and it was 1-0. Squeaky 1-0 to United. They've no Ben Doak as well, which I think really helps us. So Mark goes with Cooper, Gilchrist, Anel, Robbo, McCallum. Interesting. Dropping Burrows, right? Vinny and Hamer in the middle. Hamer on the left, Jez on the right, O'Hare in the 10, Campbell up top. You've got Hamer in twice, pal, but we'll see. Connor is ruled by the moon, says Jimmy. He really does ride the emotional roller coaster. Good job they're One Club City. I'll have to go and check it out. I was so busy yesterday, I hadn't really taken in any content from yesterday. Martin says Blackburn are now considering Dyche and having the podcast live from the Royal Dyche in Burnley. Yeah, I bet. Mark, morning, Jimmy. Borough fan in peace. Yes, I know, pal. I'm a subscriber to your channel. I like your content. Big game tomorrow. It's become a must-win for us, given the playoff scrap we've allowed ourselves to get embroiled in. Borough could be outstanding or a massive shambles. I know. I've always, and it's documented, again, the pros and cons of being online. I'm a big fan of Middlesbrough and the way they go about the business. I think they're always a threat in the Championship, always there or thereabouts, always a dangerous side to play. So I'm not looking forward to it, if I'm honest. But if you put your Middlesbrough head on and you look at Sheffield United and the players that we can now put out, they have got to be thinking exactly the same, if not worse. Who wants to come up against Gus Hamer and Callum O'Hare and Brereton Diaz and Tyrese Campbell or Cannon or Raksaki? We are just as intimidating to the opposition as we are looking at their core strengths and thinking, oh, they could be really good here. Oh, Hamza, not Hamer. Okay, I got you, Mark. So you're sticking with the 2 6s. Interested. David says, what about Holding and Robbo? Anella's not been looking great as late. He's definitely missing the defensive partner like Suter. I can see the reasoning for taking Anel out of the team, David. I don't think that's a wild claim at all. But I just think Robbo's number 3 in that order. If you look at the quality of the player, not in form, not in order of form, but I think look at the 3 players. If a top Championship team had to pick 2 of those 3 players, any team, in fact, in this league, and any team in the Premier League wanted 2 squad players, who are they picking out of those 3? And I guarantee no one picks Jack Robinson, which is, or that is my opinion. I can't guarantee it. We'll never know. But wonder if Hamza the Blade sees a player in Bobby Balls. Yeah. Well, I'll ask Hamza the Blade next time I see him. I'm seeing him tomorrow. Danny says, totally agree that Peck is a must. We'll be at game tomorrow, obviously, won't we? But I'm seeing him in the morning and then we're at the game tomorrow. Totally agree that Peck is a must, but I've said that every game this season, says Dan. He always looks to get on the ball and links well with O'Hare. Yeah, I agree. They do play well together. Bob says, hi, Jimmy. It's my 60th birthday on the 23rd of Feb. So if it's okay, I'll take a big 6-0 to us at your place, or rather 0-6. Oh, so Leeds boy. Is that a Leeds boy? No, thank you. I wish you all the best on your birthday. I hope you're not too downbeaten if you get, or when you get beaten by the Blades. But yeah, absolutely. It'll be all love before the game and after the game, but it's war when we're on the field, pal. When's Hamza coming back on? I'll try and get him on soon. He's I'd love him to be on a regular basis. This is my dad who we're talking about, by the way. So if people didn't see, he came on to do the deadline day special with a Hamza Chowdhury. I won't say wig, hairdo. That's probably the best way to do it. I know there's some discontent amongst some Blades fans at the minute, but I'd love Borough to be able to win games like the Blades when we're not playing at our best, says Ma. Either we're brilliant or god-awful. There's no in-between. Love our new member, Positive Jack, says David. Call me Positive Jack. It's better than Turkey Jack, isn't it, when you had your teeth and your hair done? So, yeah. I want you to change your name now, Jack. You're either Turkey Jack or Positive Jack. Brewster getting a new contract. Oh, yes, says B-Spot. Here he comes. Ian's understudy. The joint biggest Brewster fanboy out there. I'm so happy. Come on, Brewster, says Beast Boy. Jack says, I think Wilder will go back to a more defensive setup and bring back Gilchrist and play Desraki. I agree. Watch One Leeds, then his Connor channel. He's all excited about other teams on his Connor channel. Then Mr. Leeds serious on the Leeds. He won't lol up the Blades. I agree. And I called him out for this on Battle Lines. It's 2 different people, David. 2 different people. Conor McGilligan channel. Oh, we're all one big football family. EFL, come on, like and subscribe. And I'm jesting because he knows I'm messing about. But then it's one Leeds fan channel, losers. We're going to win the league by 10 points. If we didn't have Melly here, we'd already be promoted right now. So, yeah, absolutely ludicrous changing style. Authenticity is the key, Connor. You've got to be yourself. You can't be putting on a, Sheffield United. If they just sort the finishing out, hopefully for them, they're going to be a real threat this season. You don't think hopefully for us at all. You don't think hopefully. You hope we don't sort out our attacking prowess and we start to plummet and tank down the league. Be honest. Be honest. People prefer honesty, pal. You can see right through it. David's got you here, hook, line and sinker. Ray says, would love that new merchandise to include. It's imminent. We'll get that out for next transfer window, Ray. We'll get that out. We'll get a cheap T-shirt. Just say it so people can buy it quite reasonably and openly. It won't make any profit on it. It'll just spread the word, won't it, about the Ramble. It's imminent. That was the word of the month, weren't it, in January? It must have been said every day in our chat. Bob says, love to you too, Jimmy. Said many times on here before, I hope we both go up this season, up the Blades, marching on together. I never like saying that last little bit, but thank you, Bob. Absolutely right. That is the key, isn't it? And Connor was saying to me the other night, he rang me and he was like, I'm desperate for us both to go up. So we can continue doing that collaborative content across each channel as well. Jacoby says, hi, I'm new to the channel. I've heard no mention of the new wingers we've signed. Will we see them tomorrow? I saw one of them yesterday. I saw Jeff in and around Bramall Lane. So said hello to Jeff. I think he's having English lessons at the moment. I don't think we'll see either of them. I don't think Chris has even been fully registered yet. I'll be amazed if Jeff's involved. Quality Connor impression. Thank you, Turkey Jack. Thoughts on the Chowdhury signing, Jimmy? It's the kind of signing I'd liked us to make beneath Hackney and Morris. The drop-off in quality is huge. That's exactly what we were facing there, to be honest. It was a drop-off in quality. And not because, like Tom Davies is very capable. We had Vinny Souza and Arblaster to start the season. Arblaster out for what we think is the season, might now not be the full season. But Arblaster out for a considerable period of time. We're already depleted. So then we brought Siddy Peck in alongside Vinny Souza while Tom Davies was getting back up to fitness. Played well, but Siddy Peck had only been playing under 21 games and wasn't fully 100% sharp and match fit. So when Siddy started to tire, Tom Davies came in, but then Vinny got injured. Tom Davies and Siddy Peck then, heads down, were the only ones we could rely on because there were nobody else. Jamie Shackleton couldn't get fit. And it was Tom Davies and Siddy Peck for so long. Now, Vinny Souza's coming back and we've brought Hamza Chowdhury in. Now, Hamza Chowdhury, I think, is probably the second best midfielder we've got in the squad now, central midfielder. But he's very similar to Vinny Souza. A lot of us were calling for it. Me and Steve Holmes were very vocal about, I want those 2 6s in there behind the 10 so they can win the ball and give it easy to the creative players. It didn't quite work again. Well, it didn't work at all. The gap was too big. There was a huge gulf in the middle. They didn't really complement each other like we were hoping they would. Wilder tried it like a lot of us were calling for. It didn't work. Can that work in the future? Maybe. But I think for this game, because it's such a big game, you can't take that risk. So I think you go with one defensive midfielder and Peck, who's a little bit of a nice blend of both. He works hard, but he can also go box to box. So I think you go with Souza and then Chowdhury is a really quality replacement for him. And I think Chowdhury will push him all the way. Pete says, it's my birthday on the 23rd of Feb, 61. Dave, I'll give you a 6-0. Thrashing that is, buddy. No hard feelings. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, we'll take a Blades 6-1 for your 61st birthday, Pete. Yeah, we'll go with that instead. Glenn says, as in, don't take me home. We've got O'Hamer and O'Hare. We really don't care what Dirty Leeds have to say. And Wilder, we trust. They're staying here with us. We've got Hamer and O'Hare. I don't know if you're shouting at me. I don't know if you're singing, Glenn. I don't know what tune it's to if you are singing. Wow. Watch this week's Jim. Connor even wears his hair different. It's 2 different people in it. I'm telling you, that there's a reason. It's not because it's one person, but they will go live at the same time one day and mess up, won't they? Connor and his twin. I'll think of a second name for Connor to go on his second channel. What's your opinion of seeing Arblaster back this season, or should we not risk it and give him a solid pre-season? I think we'll see him, Jack. I think we'll see him. By the way, congrats on getting my name right. You've no clue how rare that is. There you go, Jacoby. There you go. I try my best. I usually butcher people's names, so apologies. And Ma says, is there an area of the Borough team you'd look to target? We're really weak at fullback. Ayling is our only fit right back, and the thought of him going up against Hamer terrifies me. That is where I'd go. We have on our warm-ups, Ma, we do what we call a ramble rundown, but basically it's some of the opposition content creators, and you're more than welcome to take part next season. Obviously, we've had both games now, but Borough Breakdown came on and give us a pre-recorded thing where I've asked them a set of questions, and they will, and one of them is, where's your weak link? Who's your strengths? And they've sort of given me some strengths about Borough, what they think of Sheffield United, how they think they'll set up, what you think to Carrick at the moment. And I was surprised to hear that some people are starting to question him a little bit. But also, where are your weak links? And he said at fullback. He said, you know, Ayling is the target. You may also get to us a little bit down the left-hand side, but Ayling is the one that that you'll get some joy out of, probably. Is it just me, or under the impression Gus needs to be played centrally? Also, with the signings we've made, will this be the end of Cal and Gus link up? No, I don't think it will. I think sometimes you get that natural chemistry between two players, and they've got it. You could see they were trying to force it a little bit at the beginning of the season, and then a couple of games before Gus went off suspended, they were flowing really nice. The Norwich game stands out, but they were flowing together really nicely. And I think that link up will be something that we look to utilise. And I think it'll be tomorrow night. I think they'll both start. But like Ma says, I think Hamer will stay out on the left because of the threat he will bring. Look, Bretton Diaz could bring a huge threat to Luke Ayling as well. But he's not been good this season, Luke Ayling. And I know we were in for signing him. And I thought if we were sticking with a 3-5-2, he might have been all right on the right-hand side. But he's past his peak, and he looks like he's only going one way. So if there is a weakness in this Borough team, Luke Ayling is the one to target. And I think he'll be in the team because they haven't got any other options. So that is where we are. That was nicely rounding these off at around an hour. There's over 600 people in here, so thank you for that. Really appreciate it. We will be back tonight, myself and Jord Motson. We are doing the Watford Leeds game on Behind the Ramble. So if you want to join us over on our second channel, it would be very much appreciated if you could like and subscribe to both channels. We are trying to get that. I'm now full-time on as a content creator, which sounds ridiculous when I'm 40. But I am trying my best to make this work. And I think it can. I think it can. You see the engagement that we get as a channel, the support that you guys give us. And I'm asking you, if you'll just go over and subscribe to that channel as well, it would really help us out, because if that can get monetized, it means we can start producing more content over there as well. And that will, what I would do promise though, it won't be like Connor McGilligan, where you see a different Jimmy on Behind the Ramble to a different. It's not going to be welcome to all the Leeds fans, welcome to the Sheffield Wednesday fans. You'll still get real opinions, but it'll be slightly different. It might cover more teams. It might be a little bit of behind the scenes. I've also said that when we get to 1,000 subscribers, I'll talk to you all about the transition that I've made to full time, if you like, and the plans that I have in place and what I did to get myself to this level and things like that. And I'll just try and pull the curtain back a little bit, because I think people can be interested in that sort of stuff. It's not really something for the main channel, but I think some people might be interested in that. So thank you to everybody that's joined me. Very much appreciated. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. 1-0 Blades. Up the Blades!